I'm Craig Sponholtz of Watershed Artisans, and here today at the Rio Mora National Wildlife Refuge on the Mora River. And we've been here for the past month doing a river restoration project to improve the aquatic habitat and floodplain access along the Mora River. So the Mora River has been downcut and entrenched for many decades now, which means it's downcut into the landscape, and when we have floods, the floods don't really spill the banks and re-wet the floodplain areas. So very minimal floodplain along this portion of the river, and that's one of the issues that we're here to address. So as a result of that, we really have one dominant riparian plant community, and that's Coyote Willows. So nothing wrong with Coyote Willows, but that's basically all there are here. So behind me there's some large Cottonwoods, but those are left over. Obviously they're big old trees, and there are literally no Cottonwood seedlings anywhere in here. That's partially because of the changed hydrology from all the water diversions upstream, and the fact that there's really no floodplain for them to germinate on. So what we did in this project was a lot of excavation, and we essentially widened the floodplain by removing the soil, hauling it out to some adjacent high terraces, and basically blending it into some slopes so you can't tell that we've added that soil. And the result is we essentially cut everything away that wasn't floodplain, leaving a much wider surface that's give or take about 18 to 24 inches above the current water level. What that means is during a flood, and it could be a relatively small flood, water has a large area to spread out across once it reaches the top of the banks. And that's what we call floodplain, and that floodplain is now wider, and water can spread out over the floodplain. It moves slower, it soaks in, it'll help establish different kinds of riparian vegetation like rushes and sedges, and create all different kinds of habitats. So what we did also in the floodplain are to create what are called anabranch channels and islands. So we have off-channel wetland habitat. So those are good places for small fish and amphibians to shelter during flood events. And they're also, if you probably come back in a few weeks, or certainly by next spring, we'll probably see thousands and thousands of tadpoles in there. It's just slow moving, calm water that a lot of critters can find shelter in and really help diversify the riparian plant and wildlife community. So over the next few years, we'll be continuing this project downstream. So we have the next area we plan to work on will happen in spring of 2023, which is approximately a year from now. And we'll do a similar floodplain cut in another area. And then we're also evaluating another mile of river downstream beyond that for future years as potential restoration reach, and to see if we can use the same kind of techniques along more of the river.